How does this sound? Can you hear me now? Where is these at? Ah! Uh, loud. Okay, hold on. Let me try and turn it down for a little bit. How does that sound? Sound a little bit better, less loud, maybe a little bit down, a little bit more. And how about that? Does that sound a little bit better? Oh, the voices are always back. And they're back. Back again. But I may sound a little bit different today. For you see, I got new microphone. I know auto senses are still there. I can't fix it. I need to mess with OBS to try and fix that. And I'll get to and I'll get to that eventually. Hopefully, maybe, possibly, eventually. Just so you know, it's not censoring between in the chat itself. I can see everything that you guys type. It's censoring it between the pop-out window and my encoder. I don't know why it's doing that, how it's doing that, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I'm going to try and find out how to fix that real soon. But I got new microphone, new better microphone to do these insane little pony stories. Yes, it is a private message. Only you will be able to see what you type, or maybe other people in chat. I don't know. But new microphone, so I can record all these insane horse words. And what? Stop messing with the pop mic. That that sound good? Sound better? Probably not. Probably just been messing around with this for no reason at all. Let me get rid of that one. I don't know why I have so much energy today. Usually, I'm either starting to die or I've already dead and coming back to life later in the night. I don't know, maybe someone hired a necromancer earlier to relieve my dead inside tendencies. But wait, huh? It looks so good. It looks so good. Oh my gosh. Oh no. That is beautiful artwork. It's so good. So good. Oh man. Oh, I need to stare at it more. That's so good. It's so. I wish I could bring it up on stream. And I don't want to mess with my stream. um, maybe I can. I can just add the scene of a display, and there we go. Boom, and then the transition. Hey! Oh my gosh, it looks so good. It looks fantastic. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I specifically made a new scene just to show off this amazing artwork. Oh man, that's fantastic. It's very nice. But this is going to be a new experience for me recording with this mic, simply because I can actually hear myself through it, which is very strange. That's true. Idol should be an alicorn. It's a beautiful piece of. Technically, he is. He's the changeling alicorn. Yeah, the alicorn of changification, or something like that. But it's very good, very good, very good, indeed. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's so good. I haven't done this in so long. And I apologize. Apologize. I apologize for such long wait since last chapter. This trailer, that's true. Trailer always lies. Although it'd be really awesome to see the fiery alicorn. The firecorn, the alley, the alley fire. Uh, yeah, no, it doesn't make a good name. Fiery alicorn doesn't go together just right. Anyway, sounds so loud through my headphones. Anyway, new mic. Let's see how well it records, eh? Got brand new, brand new recording space. Not new recording space. It's still my old recording space, but I got a new mic. So, and I'm moving soon. So, if you thought this was going to be a regular thing, you're out of luck until after BronyCon probably. What would be Celestia's dad, like Solaris? I don't know. Did we ever get canon names for their parents, or uh, does do we just make them? VJ, what is their parents' name? You can make up whatever the hell you want. Anyway, better get started with this because it was fantastic. It's great. It's great seeing everyone again. So good, so good. I guess that's true. Well, we don't know. VJ, any care to comment on your universe and whether or not Celestia and Luna have parents? And if they do, what are their names? Chapter 17 Business Ethics. I can hear everything through this mic, from the chair creaking and me just setting my arm down on the desk. God, it's so weird. Anyway. I was a terrible unicorn. This is going to be this is going to be great. This is going to be so good. I can't wait until he actually gets in the gun. Oh, I can't wait to show you what I've got planned for Celestia's voice. I don't actually have voice picked out, but I'm going to do something very special for Celestia's voice. Theodore, should I add emphasis on the I? Like, I was a terrible unicorn, or I was a terrible unicorn. I, I was a, I was a terrible unicorn. You, I was, I was, a, I was a Celestia awful unicorn. uh, I, I was a terrible unicorn. I, I. Which one's what? Which one's his voice? I was a terrible unicorn. That's maybe. I was the voice crack. The voice, the voice crack is back. Welcome everyone. Welcome back. The voice crack, the ruiner of all of my takes. You know, I was actually thinking about that this early on in his career. This is all told in the past tense, which means this is most likely him retelling his life story. So, technically, he would put on normal stuff like that, uh, because he would put on like emphasis and whatnot, because this is after that 10-year time skip, and he actually knows how to pony a little bit. Possibly, I don't know. Who is turning up the bass again? Hopefully, it'll be a lot quieter at my new place. I know it's like early on in his career, timeline-wise, but from the story's perspective, if it's Idle telling his own story, I'm not sure. I might just have to decide later. I was a terrible unicorn. I was a terrible unicorn. The realization blah, 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 blank. I was a terrible unicorn. The realization struck me quite harshly and very suddenly. Beyond that, I was completely ignorant of all but the most basic magic manipulation. Changeling magic and unicorn magic is completely different. Whereas a unicorn can apparently turn a frog into an orange, a changeling sees frog, and the idea of wasting precious energy to turn them into anything other than food is appalling. Just eat the frog, stop playing with your food. That probably. Topaz probably did steal his diary. Stop play. Just eat the frog, stop playing with your food. Ah, it's so good. Eat the froggo. We can, if I am not horribly mistaken, mimic spellcasting at a far higher cost, but duplicating special talent spells are strictly hit or miss. I believe a truly good mimic simply knows how to go through the proper motions, but I had no such training, and thus could not claim my special talent had anything to do with magic. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had had very lewd thoughts. Incorrect thoughts about certain bug ponies, or bugmares. The bugmare, yeah. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree. Why is that so hard now? Regardless, I quickly Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had inaccurate not inaccurate, incorrect. No. It starts again. Regardless, I learned Regardless. Yeah, that's Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts? How thoughts? How does my tongue even do thoughts? Had incorrect thought. This is what happens when I take a break. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts, and lacked the wealth or status to make that eccentric rather than odd. That aside, it seemed that the vast majority of unicorns in Canterlot actually fell outside of these standards, and again I questioned the odd notions of ponies. If so few of them fell under the standard, why was the standard even upheld as an expectation? How do words good? Yes, I was actually listening to the Lost Narrator's all her blooper reels again, and I'm like, oh no, it's so true. It's I'm like the male version of the Lost Narrator. I just can't get the words right. Why can't I read? Read. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, and incorrect thoughts. Regardless, I quickly. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I read. Welcome to the stream. I remember why. I did. I remember why this is so entertaining, because I cannot read for any notion. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts, and lacked the wealth or status to make that eccentric rather than odd. That aside, it actually seemed. Ah! I'm not even in the third paragraph yet. This can't be happening already. And I messed with my microphone. Now. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts, and lacked the wealth or status to make that eccentric rather than odd. That aside, it seemed that the vast majority of unicorns in Canterlot actually fell outside of these standards, and again I questioned the odd notions of ponies. If so few of them fell under this standard, why was the standard even upheld as an expectation? From what I saw, a great many unicorns of lesser birth lived in Canterlot and sought to uphold these jobs outside of no. I was so close! Ah! I'm completely fine. I don't even have you guys distracting me as an excuse. It's just me not being able to read. This is the one time where it's just all me. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts, and lacked the wealth or status to make that eccentric rather than odd. That aside, it seemed that the vast majority of unicorns in Canterlot actually fell outside of these standards. And again, regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree. That was right, and I still didn't do. I'm not to that yet. I'm not there yet. You can't judge me on something I'm not to yet. I can't even get past the second thing. The second sentence. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts, and lacked the wealth or status to make that eccentric rather than odd. That aside, it seemed that the vast majority of unicorns in Canterlot actually fell outside these standards. When did I say flat? When? When could I have put in flat? Oh, I said it's flat. Okay, that makes sense. Because I was confused and confuzzled, and I do not know what I am doing most of the time. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts, and lacked the wealth or status to make that eccentric rather than odd. That aside, it seemed that the vast majority of unicorns in Canterlot actually fell outside of these standards, and I again questioned the odd notions of ponies. If so few of them fell under the standard, why was the standard even upheld as an expectation? From what I saw, a great many unicorns of lesser birth lived in Canterlot and saw. I think that would be more of a Vidric celebration instead of EU celebration, because people just love to be like, V, you found the mistaken masterpiece. And we know it's your kind of deal. Why do I want to keep doing Russian? Am I going to have another Russian character soon? I hope not. Regardless, I quickly learned that I had no pedigree, lacked social graces, had incorrect thoughts, and lacked the wealth or status to make that eccentric rather than odd. That aside, it seemed that the vast majority of unicorns in Canterlot actually fell outside of these standards, and I again questioned the odd notions of ponies. If so few of them fell under this standard, why was the standard even upheld as an expectation? From what I saw, a great many unicorns of lesser birth lived in Canterlot and sought to uphold jobs outside of the nobility. Yes! Oh my gosh! And now V is confused. Yay! I myself decided that I would make pottery. An allowance of bits from Topaz to get myself started enabled me to procure. It doesn't even sound like a word the second time you say it. I myself decided that I would make pottery. An allowance of bits from Topaz to get myself started enabled me to procure my first bag of cement and a bucket of water. And I need to start it over. Oh, your audio windows. I'll never tell. And no one's going to get the reference. Sombra. Q? What? Sombra? Q? What? Sombra? Trevago. I myself decided that I would make pottery. An allowance of bits from Topaz to get myself started. I myself decided that I would make pottery. An allowance of bits from Topaz to get myself started enabled me to procure my first bag of cement and a bucket for water. Another allowance enabled me to purchase a potting wheel, which Topaz assured me would enable me to smooth and round my creations, and I was finally able to make a reasonable facsimile of the cup from the temple in shape. Although the design was still beyond my skill, I had to hiccup the wrong time. Another allowance enabled me to purchase a potting wheel, which Topaz assured me would enable me to smooth and round my creations, and I was finally able to make a reasonable facsimile of the cup from the temple in shape, although the design was still beyond my skill. Another allowed me to buy clay instead, because Topaz claimed no pony would buy small cement cups, so I made much larger ones, which left her speechless for a time. Another allowed me to buy clay instead, because Topaz claimed no pony would buy small cement cups, so I made much larger ones, which left her speechless for a time. Of course, it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay a guild tax and a unicorn tax because my magic could damage the set of other members' clay. Also a Canterlot City tax, and the Celestial tax, because surely I couldn't expect Princess Celestia to provide the city a decent kiln without taking some benefit, and I need to start that over anyway. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay a guild tax and a unicorn tax because my magic could damage the set of other people. You know what? This one sentence is what it feels like to be an adult. Like, seriously? Move into my apartment. Well, first you have to pay the apartment rent, then the utilities. Also, you need to pay property tax as well. Don't forget to buy internet, or else you won't be able to connect to the outside world. Also, you might need a bed as well. Oh, and probably some dishes. Maybe some hand soap so you can actually wash your hands after going to the bathroom. And if you want to be entertained whatsoever, maybe a TV would be in good standing. Like, it just keeps going. Death and taxes. The only things that are inevitable in life. You can make everything. Yeah, that's true. Very true. I wonder, is Idol still selling his clay on his creations on the side, or he's just doing it just because now, because he just wants to make the cup or something like that? Potter, not Potter, right? Potter. Or Harry, did you put the name in your goblet of fire? What do you mean, terrible gifts? I heard they're quite indestructible. which is which is a very good gift, especially if you have small kids. Of course, it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay a guild tax and a unicorn tax because my magic could damage the set of other members' clay. Also a Canterlot City tax and the Celestial tax, because surely I couldn't expect Princess Celestia to provide the city a decent kiln without taking some benefit. And of course there was also the tax because I had not bought my clay from the guild, and I would need to pay an entrance fee to the kiln. Oh my gosh, this whole thing's a one long run-on sentence. A full collection of semi-fine china. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Of course, then it was necessary to find. Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course, it was necessary. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that clay. Already all right, China. Oh man. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay a guild tax and a unicorn tax because my magic could not. Oh yeah, all right, China. Go grab my all right, China. China. Me. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay a guild tax and a unicorn tax because my magic could damage the set of other members' clay. Also a Canterlot City tax and the Celestial tax, because surely I couldn't expect Princess Celestia. And a unicorn tax. I just made it sound probably. Although a lot of horse words suddenly sound racist when you say them out loud. Like, oh my gosh. No, shame on you for bringing it. Shame. I'm shaming. Yeah, Sean the non-reliever. Sean. Idol. We're on a bridge, Idol. The magical bridge to Candy Mountain, Idol. Your mother was a horse, and your father smelled of elderberries. Just making me bring out all the references that certainly date me. It's a magical Candy Mountain cave, Idol. Oh man, a magical adventure of idle hooves, idle hooves and nymph. Oh, I don't know. I don't even know what the auto sensor even censors. Because it's because it doesn't show on my screen. Your mama a horse. A horse showed up. Mama horse. Your mama a horse. I don't know. YouTube, you are ever so confusing constantly. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member, not a member. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay it. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay a guild tax and a unicorn tax because my magic could damage the set of other members' clay. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to. Oh wait, did it censor? No, it took into context your mama, your mama ape. Of course, then it was necessary. Of course, then it was necessary to find a kiln, because she also explained that the clay must be fired. Since I was not a member of the Potter's Guild, I was required to pay a guild tax and a unicorn tax because my magic could damage the set of other members' clay. Also a Canterlot City tax and the Celestial tax, because surely I couldn't expect Princess Celestia to provide the city a decent kiln without taking some benefit. And of course, there was also the tax because I had not bought my clay from the guild, and I would need to pay an entrance fee to the kiln. Oh my gosh, I'm keeping that. Oh, oh my gosh, I'm not playing around with that anymore. It keeps on censoring your mama horse. Oh. Maybe it's thinking you're misspelling whore? I don't know. It could be. It could very well be. Oh man. But finally, the the devil has passed us by, so I can finally go on to another paragraph. Yeah, I got that one right. I don't know. It works. It works. I see it on the encoder. Life's a beach. House. It works for a beach, Rick. Oh man. I would have to rent a cart, but I would have to rent a cart, but luck I would have had to rent a cart, but as luck would have it, Topaz had a small wagon meant for hauling, and with a little effort, the two of us repurposed it to allow me to display my wares, such as they were. To my great chagrin, very few ponies showed any interest in all my works of clay, calling them inexperienced, odd, and quaint. Such as. I don't know if someone can explain that one. I would have had to rent a cart, but as luck would have it, Topaz had a small wagon meant for hauling, and with a little effort, the two of us repurposed it to allow me to display my wares. I would have had to rent a cart, but as luck would have it, Topaz had a small wagon meant for hauling, and with a little effort, the two of us repurposed it to allow me to display my wares, such as they were. To my great chagrin, very few ponies showed any interest at all in my works of clay, calling them inexperienced, odd, and quaint. it's uh, it's uh, it's pleasingly rustic. I was somewhat startled and affronted when a mare bought a large quantity of flowers from the salesmare set up beside me and promptly dumped them in one of my large cement cups, then spent an inexplicable. He didn't fall, inexplicable. I was somewhat startled and affronted when a mare bought a large quantity of flowers from the salesmare set up beside me and promptly dumped them in one of my large cement cups, then spent an inexplicable amount of time walking circles around it. How much for the pot? Oh my gosh, that's so loud. Oh gosh, nope. Water, get in there. Thank you. Thank you. How much for the pot? I won't go higher than 5 bits. I just kind of want to put a real dickish voice in this mare because she was she was so bad. How much for the cap? I won't pay. How much for the pot? I won't pay more than 5 bits. Would you like to see my special wares? How much for the pot? How much for the pot? I won't go higher than 5 bits. Does that sound anywhere close to what a man would sound like? I don't know. Why am I doing my honey voice right now? How much for the pot? I won't go higher than 5 bits. I guess this is my smoking voice. How much for the pot? How much for the pot? I won't go higher than 5 bits. I peeked out my mic so hard. Oh. Oh, that's a good take. That's a good take right there. Very professional. Get in there! How much for the pot? I won't go higher than 5 bits. Why does it sound like honey at the end of that? How much for the pot? I won't go higher than 5 bits. Does it sound even more like honey? I don't know. It's a cup. And then I stared blankly, realizing for the first time that I had not assigned a value to my works. 4 bits then? Wait, she said she wouldn't go higher than 5. Should I seek more? She stared at me, then at the cup. I meant 3 bits. Then 3 bits. She frowned, giving me a skeptical look. Sounds a bit like this. Because, I don't know why, but it sounds like honey should have a voice, something sweet as her name. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean, honey? Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire. If you elude me, honey, you'll lose me. And tell 'em all and tell me I'm your own. I'm talking really fast for this, aren't I? She frowned, giving me a skeptical look. 2 bits. We agreed upon 3, I offered hesitantly. Was this mare crazed? We agreed on 3. We agreed on 3, I offered hesitantly. Was this mare crazed? She seemed oddly relieved, nodded, placed 3 bits on my cart, and with a little careful rope work and my assistance, managed to lever the cup. She seemed oddly relieved, nodded, placed 3 bits on my cart, and with a little careful rope work and my assistance, managed to leverage the cup pot between her wings in a way that she seemed able to balance it. I sold the entirety of my works of cement shortly thereafter. The mare running the flower stall next to me offered 15 bits for the other 4. Seeing that this was an improvement in value for the items, I accepted. It was almost a full week before I managed to sell the majority of my other wares, but I was quite pleased all the same. Idol's lack of art. Yep, that's true. There we go. Oh, man. Okay. Alright. Taupe has informed me that Topaz informed me that my entire first month's worth of sales. Topaz informed me that my entire first month of worth of. Topaz informed me that my entire first month worth of sales would only barely cover the cost of the It begins again. Topaz informed me that my entire first month worth of sales would only barely cover the cost of materials used, and my hourly wage was something to the tune of 2 bits an hour, which I found reasonable, being more than one. Hey, this is what most artists go through, so it's very reasonable. Topaz informed me that my entire first month worth of sales would only barely cover the cost of materials used, and my hourly wage was something to the tune of 2 bits an hour, which I found reasonable, being more than one. Topaz said I was mad. I refuted by claiming that I had far better control than that. Topaz said I was mad. I refuted by claiming that I had far better control than that. She spent a short time screaming into a pillow for reasons I dare not contemplate, but felt much calmer afterwards, and explained that I should see what other ponies charge for similar wares before assuming a price. I considered trying to comprehend this. I do not understand. I have gained bits. My voice betrays me again. I do not understand. I have gained bits. This should assist my survival, yes? Idle, where do you think your food comes from? Trees. I deserve that, Topaz sighed and shook her head. I have to pay for it, Idle, from the pony who takes care of the trees. I stared, perplexed. Why do we not just take care of the trees ourselves, then? Because I accidentally killed a potted cactus by forgetting to water it. I'm not good with plants, and I doubt you are either. A pony who is better at it than me does it, gets more few. Because I accidentally killed a potted cactus. Because I accidentally killed a botted cactus. I wonder what a botted cactus would look like. Because I accidentally killed a potted cactus by forgetting to water it. I'm not good with plants, and I doubt you are either. A pony who is better at it than me does it, gets more food, and then sells it. Didn't you travel with a bunch of traders? I do not think I understood as well as I believed, I admitted, lowering my head. This business was complicated. I understood barter well enough. And that's because most of them were operating in good faith. It's a principle of harmony. You trade a reasonable amount of one thing for a reasonable. And that's because most of them were operating in good faith. It's a principle of harmony. You trade a reasonable amount of. And that's because most of them were operating in good faith. It's a principle of harmony. You trade a reasonable amount of one thing for a reasonable amount of the other. They knew roughly what your labor was worth. They made an offer, and you took it. So the mare who I sold my. Whom? Who uses whom? Oh my gosh! So, the mare whom I sold my first work to was not operating in good faith? No, she was taking an aggressive stance, but that's fine. You could have laughed and told her your pots. No, she was off. No, she was taking an aggressive stance, but that's fine. You could have laughed. No, she was taking an aggressive stance, but that's fine. You could have I don't know what that word means. Google, help me. Even Grammarly's not sure what that word is. What does that mean? There we go. An anachronistic. Anachronistic. Belonging to a period other than that being portrayed. The more you know. Which most people find throughout. Anachronistic. I did not know what anachronistic was. Never seen that word before. No, she was taking an aggressive stance, but that's fine. You could have laughed and told her. No, she was taking an aggressive stance, but that's fine. You could have laughed and told her your pots. Cups. Don't start. We were Don't start. You were 10 bits at. Don't start. You were. Don't start. We're 10 bits at minimum, or 20 bits, or 15,000 bits. You set the price. It's your job to make it reasonable. Now, your work is a good effort, but you're probably not exactly hurting the ponies who have been doing this for years, or the ones who mass produce. But that's not what you're going for. You're going. Don't start. We're 10 bit. Don't start. We're 10 bits at minimum, or 20, or 15,000 bits. You set the price. It's your job to make it reasonable. Now, your work is a good effort, but you're probably not exactly hurting the ponies who've been doing this for years, or the ones who mass produce. But that's not what you're going for. You're trying to have a bit of style, right? Would she have paid 15,000 bits for one? Uh, if you were a famous artisan, and probably dead so your work was limited, maybe, but there's a lot involved. Could I not duplicate the works of said artisan? Topaz stopped, took a breath, and stated very firmly, "That is called forgery, and is a crime. Do not do that. You have to specifically make it known that it is not one of that pony's works, only a duplication, and you will make a lot less bits." I wanted to protest, but sensed that this was a matter of ponies being nonsensical. I wanted to protest, but sensed that this was another matter of ponies being nonsensical. Still, there was something that seemed incorrect. Do not do that thing. Do not do that thing. But you are paying for my food then, I sputtered, finally seizing on it. Well, yeah. I owe you bits by that reasoning. No, I'm studying you. I insist. How much have I eaten? Topaz mumbled for a bit, prodding one of my bits on the table. 2 or 3 times what you have here? I stared. I have not gained bits. Not really. In fact, I have lost bits. More or less, yeah. Bits that I can clearly see right in front of me, existing. These bits do not exist, because I have no bits. She shrugged her wings. She shrugged her ring. She shrugged her ring. Why is that so hard? She shrugged her wings. She shrugged her wings, at a loss for words. Ponies are crazy. Wait, is... Sometimes we are. Honestly, I think you should have more bits than this. But really, you aren't going to make much money at the first time around. You need to network, I think. Or something. I was never all that good with business myself, and that was a terrible take. Idle, who wrote this script? Sometimes we are. Honestly, I think you should have more bits than this, but really, you aren't going to make much money the first time around. You need to network, I think, or something. I was never all that good with business myself. Well, Honeydew has a small... Honeydew. Well... Well, Honeydew has a stall nearby, and I trailed off, feeling ashamed at my own lack of self-control. Idle, a honeyed... Idle, a honeyed marshmallow a day isn't going to hurt anything but your waistline. She frowned at my bits again, pushing at the loose pile. Pile. Why? Pile. The loose pile. Idle, a honeyed marshmallow a day isn't going to hurt anything but your waistline. Idle, a honeyed marshmallow a day isn't going to hurt anything but your waistline. She frowned at my bits again, pushing at the loose pile. I don't know. Do they? That's an interesting thing because I've seen several. Can changelings even get fat? It's I've seen many fan interpretations of that. Either they turn it directly into love energy, but at a much less reasonable rate, so that's less efficient for them to eat food than to collect love, or it is the basis for their slime. So if they don't eat, they don't produce the slime. I've seen it both ways. I've even seen it where meat is something that is akin to love energy and will sustain a changeling for a while, but other foods are just turned into slime and actually taste like the food that they're being that was consumed. It's a very interesting take on changeling biology, actually. Yes, we have seen a fat pony. We've seen a very fat pony in Inspiration Manifestation, the puppet player. honey, da- honey tastes like love. Um, the puppeteer in Inspiration Manifestation. However you say that word. Let's see if I could. MLP puppet puppeteer. I don't know how you spell puppeteer. Inspiration manifest. And you also have Mrs. Cake, and ooh, I did not mean to go that way. And you also have Snips as well. Uh, yeah, this dude. Yeah, is not as chunky. And you also have what was the other one that I just barely said? Snips, the puppeteer. Oh yeah, Mrs. Cake. Well, Mrs. Cake. It's interesting because a lot of fanfiction like state that she's like a lot bigger than that. But yeah, there's a few fat pony. There's a few big ponies that we've seen around, and you know, just from the way that I've read Honey, is it just seems like she's a chunkier pony the most. Maybe because she's sampling her wares too much. Hmm. Idle is stout. Good to know. Good to know for all the fan art. Perhaps I should continue trading my labor instead, I mumbled, feeling miserable and not being. Perhaps I should continue trading my labor instead, I mumbled, feeling miserable and not being so sure as to why. I did not oppose labor, but I felt diminished somehow. I had hoped that I would be able to live as a pony, doing as ponies did. I desired to be good at crafting these cups and to be Hey, welcome, Master. Welcome to the live stream. Woo! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, one and all. Someone is here that will that might interact. I don't know what you and V are doing, but it seems you're less actively trying to sabotage me today, which is a weird feeling. Perhaps I should continue trading my labor instead, I mumbled, feeling miserable and not being sure as to why. I did not oppose labor, but I felt diminished somehow. I had hoped that I would be able to live as a pony, doing as ponies did. I desired to be good at crafting these cups and to be accepted for it, but for some reason I lacked some necessary ability, and all these expectations. No pony will even tell me what to do, I blurted, unable to help myself. I cannot understand why ponies do the things they do. I work and sell what I made for a month. Now you say that it was unacceptable and now that I, in fact, failed in this task, but you cannot explain to me what precisely I must do to better it. I cannot see for myself I lack. The queen was right to exile me. Bit of a pause there. Do what I do. Yeah. Do as I do. Yeah. Na 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 do do do. I should do that whole thing again because it seems like it should be more emotional. Let's try it all from the beginning. Let's save. Oh my gosh. I haven't saved yet. Oh gosh. There we go. Oh, it's raining there? Ooh. It hasn't hit here yet, so that's a good thing it didn't hit, or else I would have had to like cancel the stream because I'm like, oh man, rained out. We were thundered out. No pony will even tell me what to do, I blurted, unable to help myself. I cannot understand why ponies do the things they do. I work and sell what I made for a month. Now you say it was unacceptable, and I have in fact failed in this task, but you cannot explain to me what precisely I must do to better it. I cannot see it for myself. I lack. The queen was right to exile me. She put a wing around my shoulders, and I feel. She put a wing around my shoulders, and I could feel her attempt to comfort me through breaching. She put a wing around my shoulders, and I could feel her attempt to comfort me breaching the walls she had put it. Everything just gone. I know, right? She put a wing around my shoulders, and I could feel her attempt to comfort me breaching the walls she had put. Yeah. Oh no, don't delete that. Oh no. She put a wing around my shoulders, and I could feel her attempt to comfort me breaching. And I could feel her attempt to comfort me breaching the walls she had me put in place. She put a wing around my shoulders, and I could feel her attempt to comfort me breaching the walls she had me put in place, though I knew I should not be. This paragraph. Good luck finding a cat. I heard they are hard to herd. She put a wing around my shoulders, and I could feel her attempt to comfort me breaching the walls she had me put in place. Though I knew I should not as a rule, her effort was just as clearly permission, and I drank it in, feeling the soothing nature of it as balm to my hurts. Hey, come now. This is just a setback. Some ponies usually get a childhood of experience with other ponies before they. Hey now. Hey, come on now. This is just a setback. Some ponies usually get a childhood experience with other ponies before they try making their way out there. You're starting late. It might be a few months or years before you really hit your stride. Until then, you just have to keep keeping on. I say that all the time, and oh my gosh, why is it so hard to read? Hey, come on now. This is just a setback. Some ponies usually get a childhood experience with other ponies before they try making their way out there. You're starting late. It might be a few months or even years before you really hit your stride. Until then, you just have to keep. Until then, you guard her well, Burnett. But I didn't guard you well. I seem to not be able to understand the magic of it all. And if you get that reference, I love you. It's a very niche reference, and you could easily miss. You could easily miss it. It's so good. Until then, you just have to keep on keeping on. All right? Until then, you just have to keep keeping on. All right? Until then, you just have to keep keeping on. All right? That was not comforting. That was not comforting. The idea of owning. That was not comforting. The idea of owing a greater and greater quantity of bits to Topaz seemed unfeasible, and then she would owe bits to some pony, who owed bits to some pony else, who owed bits to some pony else. That was not comforting. The idea of owing a greater and greater quantity of bits to Topaz seemed unfeasible. Then she would owe bits to some pony, who owed bits to some pony else, who owed bits to some pony else. Dear Order, was I stealing bits from Princess Celestia? Had I created a chain of thievery? I cannot pay these bits I owe, I started, horrified at the concept. Then we'll call it a loan. You just pay me back when you can, all right? I've got some savings, it's fine. We'll figure out some way of getting you afloat. I do not know if I can swim, I hazarded, feeling hopeless again. How many other things would I fail at? No, it's not. All right, look, forget this happened. We'll figure something out. Maybe we'll keep the pottery as a side business, and we'll find something else for you to do. Something you'll make bits at and be happy with. If such a thing even exists, I grumbled darkly. I have only barely gotten enough emotion from the ponies around me, and what am I able to do about that? If such a thing exists, I grumbled darkly. I have only barely gotten enough emotion from the ponies around me, and what am I to do about that? Wow, Grumpy Bug, Topaz snorted, giving me a light shove. Look, tomorrow is a summer sun celebration. We're going to go. We're going to have a good time, and everything will feel a bit better, all right? Teasingly, she offered. There'll be honey cakes. My mouth instantly began to water. I did not even know what a honey cake was, but I desired very strongly to find out. I cannot. It'll be my treat, and no pony does any business outside of food sales during the celebration, she assured me, and I had to confess I had no better plans. Her largesse was... Her largesse? Her largesse. Her largesse was the only support I had in Canterlot. Hold on, I need to look up what this is. Largesse. Yeah, largesse. I know. Largus? Google, help me. I need the help of the Google gods. Ah. Largesse. Yeah, I got it. I got it right. Largesse. Yeah, largesse. Yeah. Her largesse. I got it. I got it. Yeah, I know. Largesse. Her largesse. Her largesse was the only support I had in Canterlot, and without her I would be forced to leave this marvelous city. Though I had precious little to celebrate, I would go forth into the celebration and would celebrate it as any would. Her largesse was the only support I had in Canterlot. Her largesse was the only support I had in Canterlot, and without her I would be forced to leave this marvelous city. Though I had precious little to celebrate, I would go forth into the celebration and would celebrate it as well as any changeling could. Yeah, her largest. I've been saying her largest. You seem to be having a slight aneurysm over there, V. I've been saying it right. Don't you worry. I can see you typing in Discord. I can see. I can see. Her largesse. Exactly what I've been saying this entire time. Exactly what I have been saying this entire time. Her largesse was the only support I had in Canterlot, and without her I would be forced to leave this marvelous city. Though I had precious little to celebrate, I would go forth into the celebration, and would celebrate it as well as any changeling could. uh, Far too many ponies at a celebration. Far too many, and none of them doing anything worthwhile. There's a mare. Their mare it creates floating rubber clouds, and their pony throws a ball at a target to drop another pony into the water while all of them laughed, and it's too loud, too noisy, too pointless, too busy not being busy, and I was finding I didn't care. I could just imagine him just like panicking a little bit. Far too many ponies at a celebration. Far too many, and none of them doing anything worthwhile. Their mare creates floating rubber clouds, and their pony throws a ball at a target to drop another pony into the water while all of them laugh, and it's too loud, too noisy, too pointlessly busy not being busy, and I was finding I didn't care. Topaz laughed to my consternation and explained that this sort of thing was a great chance for ponies to cut loose, relieve some stress, and have a good time. I was clearly enjoying myself with the festivity in the air, and she was absolutely right. I did feel better. Yes, Topaz's largesse, her largesse. The honey cakes helped. Honey cakes are amazing. Honey is edible love, drinkable even. Topaz still won't give me back my mead, but I must remember to ask for it again later. The honey cakes helped. Honey cakes are amazing. Honey is edible love, drinkable even. Topaz still won't give me back my mead. I must remember to ask for it again later. I can't begin to describe how incredible my first summer sun celebration was. Topaz found 2 of my larger cups holding sugarcane treats for the older foals, which also bolstered my cheer, though the mare giving them out just clearly didn't remember me at all, but that could be attributed to the dim pre-dawn light. There was a certain excitement in the air, like a buzz of the hive, as every pony waited for something, and Topaz refused to let me in on it. Idle staring at my flank again, isn't he? As much as Shining does mine, as much as Shining stares at mine. And then there was the sound of horns. Topaz led me to look upon a raised platform filled with ponies in impressive identical garb, all acting in tandem for the first time since I'd seen ponies en masse, and I watched in sudden amazement as the wave of love and pride washed over myself and the rest of the audience. As Princess Celestia walked out onto the platform, gazing over her subjects with such strong emotion that I wondered briefly how she could manage it all by herself. All the while I could only stare in awe at the I almost got through that in one take. In one take only. All the while I could only stare in awe at the majestic white alicorn as she took to her duty that defined All the while I could only stare in awe at the majestic white alicorn as she took to her duty that defined daily, and raised the sun before a crowd of adoring ponies and one enraptured changeling. All the while I could only stare in awe at the majestic white alicorn as she took to her duty that defined daily, and raised the sun before the crowd of adoring ponies and one enraptured changeling. I'm done! I'm done! It's a miracle! Oh no, is the lightning thundering down on you? Somewhat less predatory, perhaps. Jeez. Maybe I'll get a chapter out. I click save. The Control S. It's a save. It's hear me. Hear that save button. Hear the glorious saves. And it is done. And yay! Oh. Sorry, I'm seeing V-Drake, like all the messages V-Drake has been sending me about largesse. A PM in the group in the live stream chat. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Oh man. Oh, it's so good. So good. So it's so good to be back, you know? I miss this. I miss this. Hopefully I'll get back into the groove of things, but I've been doing several side projects, but one that I've been doing that may interest some of you. Hold on, let me find it real quick. Because you may be excited for it, you may not. But let me show you what I've been doing for like the past month. Let me pull up this and this. This is, I'm not going to show you too much stuff, but this is just a hint of what I've been doing, and other things, and that might be and something that might be interesting to you to you peeps in the future. Anyway, anywho, let's get started on something else. The forbidden readings. It's not forbidden if he publicly posts them on a public forum. Not forbidden whatsoever. I would hope it's water. It would be very dangerous if it was not. Respite. And now, my dear viewers, you shall be able to see a reading of... I can pull it up. I silenced you. Why you unsilence? No, not at work. I don't care about the managerial stuff. Get off my phone. No, turn back on. No, come on. Turn off. I still have... No, there we go. Silence. Silence. Oh, hey, that'll actually be fun because that'll be so much fun to do. I hear they're going to be doing a musical episode, but that's just a fact. Which one? Where is it again? Where am I? There we go. There we go. There we go. Now you get to see a respite reading. So you're getting 2 chapters in 1 today. A respite reading? Oh no, no! Don't you even do that. That's such a terrible pun. DJ Idle Hooves as Stoptimus Crime, or, or should it be Stoptimus Crime? How would you even say that? Phonetically, phonetically, pahonically. Don't dad me, you two. Pushing is rude, he said sternly, before turning to the Pegasi with an apologetic smile. Sorry, they do get a bit excited. Excited. Do get a bit excited. Don't dad me, you two. Pushing is rude, he said sternly, before turning to the Pegasi with an apologetic smile. Sorry, they do get a bit excited. As the group approached, the guards looked up, each grinning and giving a wave of their hooves. There you are, Worm, the young Pegasus called, his ears perked up happily. Sunlight glinted off the badge on his chest, a white circle with a red heart in the center, the mark of the Love-Giver corpse. Corpse of the Love-Giver corpse. I didn't even realize I said that. Why am I reading a black screen? Because it is stupido and does not realize what I am asking of it. Book? Book? No, 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 no. Oh no, I ruined it. Back to where you were. Boom. Where is it? Chat, that, counter, the book. Oh, it's not seeing the book. That's what it's talking. Yeah, the corpse. the car. Let's see. Rename, renew, order, transform. Window filter properties. Window. There we go. You all see it now? You should be all seeing it now. It's a very angry rain, isn't it? Respite and a little bit. Image. Yeah. Yeah. Audiobook. And there. And there. And sorry, I'm a bit quiet right now. Oh my gosh, that's so stupid. Oh well. We'll just have to deal with it. What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises early in the morning. Put him in the scuppers with a hose pipe on him, put him in the scuppers with a hose pipe on him, put him in the scuppers with a hose pipe on him early in the morning. I kind of promised to only do respite outside of live streams, but I think today I shall do something a little bit different. Mainly because I just want to do it because I have not released second chapter of respite yet. So, oh well. The love giver corpse. Oh man. Okay. No. The mark of the love giver core. The mark of the love giver core. There we go. That was the end. Boom. I'll try and fit in that later after we're doing stuff. Yeah, exactly. Good morning, Tailwind. Warm greeting. Good morning, Tailwind. Worm greeted with a wry smile. We're not that late, are we? I thought we were here on time. Tailwind smiled and shook his head. Any longer and Queen Euphoria was going to send out a search party. Fleetwing here was going to see if you overslept. Ouch! He clapped his hose over his ear, rubbing at the spot his partner lipped. Fleet! Ignore this one, Fleetwing said sternly. He'll pay for it once I get him off duty. Please, go right in. Queen Euphoria is expecting you. Warm Welcome shook his head and chuckled. Of course. He stepped to the side and gestured towards the open door. After you, my friends. Okay. There we go. Now I can see. Now I can see what I'm doing. To call it court, in a similar vein as what Princess Celestia and Luna held in their grand palace on Mount Canterhorn, Canterhorn, to call it court in a similar vein as what Princess Celestia and Luna held in their grand palace on Mount Canterhorn, receiving ponies in the throne room and looking down from their places on the dais, couldn't have been farther from the truth. Queen Euphoria's court was simply a rather large sitting room, outfitted with a rather large Queen Euphoria's court was simply a large sitting room, outfitted with a rather large plush sofa. Queen Euphoria's court was simply a rather large sitting room, outfitted with a rather large plush sofa. She laid down on her stomach, horn alight with magic as she hovered a few papers before her muzzle and chatted with the pony seated with her. As always, she looked wonderful. Her carapace shined with the flickering candles, her sky blue and blonde highlighted mane bound into a long ponytail by golden wire, wreathed in tiny hearts. And I can't read. Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a typo on me. But. Ooh, hold on. Okay. Noise. But, let's see. I only have a half hour left. Should I continue doing... Let's take a vote from all you guys. Continue with Respite. Do another... try and do as much of a chapter of Changeling of the Guard as possible. Or something else. You know? I don't know. Whatever you want... whatever you wish to happen on the stream, I'll let it be in your hooves, so to speak. Oh no, I messed with my microphone again. Got to stop hitting it. Ooh. Ooh, let's change things up. Okay, let's see. What to do. Let's see. Let's see what I got. Like, would you want something in the same vein as what my audiobooks are? Or something possibly different? If you want something very different, let's see what I got. I moved the microphone. It is now a very serious stream right here. Anyway, get rid of that one. Let's see. Hold on, let me open up 3 more file spaces so I can see what I'm doing. What do you have more? What do you have more in the backlog? I'm not entirely sure what that means, but okay. Let's see what I got. I'm just kind of flying off the cuff, so if you expected like some professional stuff here, that it's just kind of not going to happen. Oh. I think I might have gotten it. Unless you can think of something else. No, not that at all. So excited. Okay, let's see. What shall I bring to the table? And put that in there. Open up this again. And this is probably very boring to all y'all. And let's see, will it add the book? Will it add what I... Yes. Okay. Turn that off. Bring, not that. Not that. Bring this over. Let's see. Would you like something? There's several things I could do. Could either show you the stuff that I sometimes do, that I somewhat call art, or I could do a different sort of reading. Let's see. What? Well, let's see. What do I got? What do I got? Let's put this. Let's open up this again. Ooh, I should make a new folder for this one. Owner. And I'll call it. Huh. Okay, and we'll put the... Has to be something pretty quick, or else I wouldn't be able to do it. Okay. All right. I remember when Rock was young. Me and Susie had so much fun. All hands on skin hands on. We really thought the crocodile rock would last well. Rocking inside and shopping when your feet just can't keep still. I never knew being bad all the time, and I guess I never will. Mama, it's Friday nights. Susie wore her dresses tight. cry rocking on the south side. Na 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 na. Ooh, a thunders are rolling across the ground. A big black cloud, all heavy with rain, shadowed the ground onto Fiti Plain. The Wasatch Front, something like that. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. As the years went by and the rock out died, Susie went and left us for some foreign guy. I was left crying by the wrecking machine, dreaming about my Chevy and my old blue jeans. But the biggest thing we ever got was doing the thing called the Crocodile Rock, while the other kids were rocking round the clock. We were hopping, bopping to the Crocodile Rock. Well, I cry rocking and silent shopping when your feet just can't keep still. I never knew me in battle the time, and I guess I never will. It's called Crocodile Rock by Sir Elton John, and I know I'm bad at singing, but oh well. Idle Hooves Are the Devil's Tools by Swirled Eyes. Narrated by Equinox 3141. The quiet of one Topaz's shower. The quiet of one Topaz Shower's apartment was broken by a question one midday. Are you experiencing pain in your neck, Topaz? You seem to be consistently applying pressure to it and bending it in directions I believe it is not supposed to bend. It was an innocent question enough. I love the reaction that V is having. Oh God! It was an innocent enough question, as most questions from Idle were. There was nothing sinister. It was an innocent enough question, as most questions from Idle were. There was nothing sinister to it, nothing suspicious, no ulterior motives. To be fair, it Thunder, get out of here! I cannot deal with you while I'm reading this. How could I not, SL Spaceship? How could I not upload this as a video? It was an innocent enough question, as most questions from Idle were. There was nothing sinister to it, nothing suspicious, no ulterior motives. To be fair, if asked, Topaz would confess she wasn't sure if Idle could really have ulterior motives. He seemed to always come across as if everything about his personality was worn right in front of you, without any effort to disguise, which, when she thought about it, was a really weird thing for a creature who explicitly was skilled at disguising itself and infiltrating other societies. But wondering on the peculiarities but wondering on the peculiarities, why can't I read this? Peculiarity, I did get it right. But wondering on the peculiarities of changelings, fascinating as they were to Topaz, was a conversation of another time. But wondering on the peculiarities of changelings, fascinating as they were to Topaz, was a conversation for another time. No, she started, non-committally, before sighing and realizing there was no point in denial. Well, yeah, it's a pain, but not an injury or something, just uncomfortable, you know? Stress and... She briefly paused, her hoofs motion, moving it in circles about her neck, eyes squinting behind glasses at the Sheets' apartment Eyes squinting behind glass... eyes squinting behind glasses at the sheets of parchment before her, before finally giving a snort, leaning back in the seat she was using, eyes staring up at the ceiling. This report, senior students, I was asked to take a look, and it's just the driest read I've ever had the displeasure of knowing. Like, I get that it's important to be precise with language in an academic work, but this isn't even anything interesting. It's just. She exhaled a grunt, bending her neck to one side, searching for a crick to work out. Sadly, no such crick or satisfying click of her vertebra. Of her vertebra. Sadly, no such crick or satisfying click of her vertebra was forthcoming. Watching her, Idle contemplated asking how a paper being dry could be an issue. After all, how would one read a wet parchment? But decided to file that query away for another time, along with what precise meaning of the word was. He had heard it used often to. Watching her, Idle contemplated asking how a paper being dry could be an issue. After all, how would one read wet parchment? But decided to file that query away for another time, along with what the precise meaning of the word was. He'd heard it used often in pony discourse, but the meaning seemed to be able to change wildly with context. For now, instead, focusing on his landlady's displeasure. But how could he help? As was natural for him, he immediately started going through a mental checklist of ways he might assist. Hunt down something for her to eat? No, she knows better than me what she would want. Make her a pot? No, I've already made her several, and that would have no bearing on her physical state. Show her exercise drills from the guard? Perhaps, but I do not believe those are useful in relieving stress, only in building firmness or muscle. What could I do? Stress. Aha! That's it! With confidence, Idle's mind clicked on the natural solution to this problem, one he'd been assured by experts in physical One he'd been assured by building firmness. Well, it builds firmness for something, am I right? I know it's fitness. I was wondering if anyone was going to catch that. Perhaps, but I do not believe those are useful in relieving stress, only in building fitness or muscle. What could I do? Stress. Aha! That's it. With confidence, Idle's mind clicked on the natural solution to this problem, one he'd been assured by experts in physical relaxation he was skilled in. A -1 typo for him pointing out one of my typos, let's say. Perhaps I could render some assistance. When I was in Ponyville, I briefly visited an establishment. Which assisted in easing tension. 2 ponies there specialized in utilizing skills which allowed them to alleviate stress through physical action. I learned of a technique there called a massage. Do you know of it? Idle could never consciously brag, at least that he'd admit to, but the hint of a smug pride in revealing to Topaz something he'd learned while abroad was unmistakable in his voice. A negative typo in someone else's. Why is a negative typo? Why are you moaning a negative typo? Let's just call a negative typo just an error on me. How's that? V? Perhaps I could render some assistance? When I was in Ponyville, I briefly visited an establishment which assisted in easing tension. Two ponies there specialized in utilizing skills which allowed them to alleviate stress through physical action. I learned of a technique there called a massage. Do you know of it? Idle would never consciously brag, at least that he'd admit to, but the hint of smug pride in revealing to Topaz something that he learned while abroad was unmistakable in his voice. Unfortunately for Idle, Topaz seemed nonplussed by the whole thing, regarding him with only a flat stare when she answered back. Ignis? Unacceptable conditions! What did I say, Agnes or Ignis? I don't know. Everyone knows what a massage is, Idle. It isn't some sort of secret art. And I'm pretty sure what you visited is just called a spa by normal ponies. Keep that in mind, please. Idle would have bristled at Topaz's dismissive behavior if bristling was a thing which changelings did. They did not. So instead, he decided to restate his proposition with emphasis, purely for reasons of altruistic motive, and not at all in an attempt to display to Topaz that he too had learned more of this new life he was living. Ah. It turned out not to be necessary, though. He had not even got further than a quick, "I was told I was quite good," before Topaz gave a shrug, seemingly having considered the idea, and I need to redo this entire thing. I wonder if Quaylag's online. He would probably be interested in a reading of his fic, of their fic, yeah. It turned out not to be necessary, though. He had not even got further than a quick, "I was told I was quite good," before Topaz gave him a shrug, seemingly having considered the idea. Why not? It's not like you can make things worse, and my neck is seriously killing me. Okay then, come on, show me what you can do. Topaz slumped away from her desk as she spoke, Idle following behind, as she moved to a nearby couch, spreading herself out over it, lying on her stomach. All right then, start when you're ready. She crossed her forelit. That is not her voice. All right. All right then. Alrighty then. All right then, start whenever you're ready. She crossed her forelimbs, muzzle resting on it, her wings unfolding to allow him easy access to her rather slight, smooth back, haunches and all, as she settled in. Of course, now please do inform me of Of course, now please do inform me if at any point it feels painful or uncomfortable. I would dislike it. Of course, now please do inform me if at any point it feels painful or uncomfortable. I would dislike it if at any way. Ah, cool. Of course, now please do inform me if at. Of course, now please do. Of course, now please inform me if at any point it feels painful or uncomfortable. I would dislike it if I worsen the situation. I would dislike it if I worsened the situation. Idle enough talking. If you're going to give me a massage, give me a massage already. So Idle did exactly that. He moved himself right near her, looming over her splayed form, forelimbs rising up as he reared onto his haunches, slowly, gently, easing them down onto the middle of her back, applying only the faintest pressure to begin with, waiting a second to see if Topaz would react to his hoofs, if they caused her any discomfort. When he saw that she did not, he began, hooves digging into the soft, supple flesh, pushing down at first before grinding somewhat. A squeak came from Topaz's lips, as if he pushed it out of her when he applied the pressure, and he immediately stopped for a moment. Did that hurt? Did that feel uncomfortable? No, it actually felt kind of nice. Come on, keep going, she hastily told him, the changeling moving to obey, hooves beginning to slide upward along her spine towards her neck, pushing as he wont, feeling the hard knots of bunched muscles offer resistance against him. She had not been lying when she had complained of tension, he realized. For Topaz, it was hard to describe the sensation, the sudden pressure on... For Topaz, it was hard to describe the sensation, the sudden pressure on her neck. She meant to keep talking as she... For Topaz, it was hard to describe the sensation, the sudden pressure on her neck. She meant to keep talking as he went, to give him a rundown of how it was going, but when she tried to open her mouth, all that came out was... Ooh, Topaz cooed, losing her train of thought all of a sudden. As Topaz... Ooh, Topaz cooed, losing... Oh, Topaz cooed, losing her train of thought all of a sudden, as Idle's hooves... Topaz cooed, losing her train of thought all of a sudden, as Idle's hooves trailed down her spine. Not bad. That's pretty refreshing, actually. She gasped twice more as she reached down her neck. Not bad. That's pretty refreshing, actually. She gasped twice more as he reached her neck, her thoughts seeming to briefly leave her as he pushed down on the base of it, and she felt another low sigh come forth, her neck feeling like it was being kneaded into a soft dough, muscles melting till they were soft and limp. You weren't kidding about being good at... Ooh, that was an interest... You weren't kidding about being good at that... Oh, that was an interesting her reaction her body was having to this. A quiver rocking through her. That was not a good take either. What are you showing to me? Ruin one face of... Oh, man. That's awesome. She is a second party, man. Oh, that's so good. You weren't kidding about being good at that. Oh, that was an interesting reaction her body was having to this. A quiver rocking through her as Idle continued, her lips briefly hanging open, and when she felt the shiver had run down her side, her large eyes blinking rapidly, she realized when she again... Her lips briefly hanging open, and when she felt the shiver that had run down her subside, large eyes blinking rapidly, she realized she once again lost her train of thought. Okay. What was I saying again? Topaz was surprised to find that focusing was becoming difficult. Every time a thought popped into her mind, it was like a little bubble of soap, dripping and wet. But when Idle just pray... What was I saying again? Topaz was surprised to find that focusing was becoming difficult. Every time a thought popped into her mind, it was like a little bubble of soap, dripping and wet. But when Idle just applied pressure just here and there, the bubbles popped, taking with them whatever she'd been thinking of. He pushed in deep, hooves molding the skin almost like it was the clay he used for his pots. And then she feel that bubble pop. She somehow feel it in her head, hear it almost pop, pop, pop. And the next thing she knew, she couldn't remember what she was talking about, what she was thinking about. All she could remember was how good it all felt. That gets through the censor. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Oh. You were commenting on something that surprised you. Idle offered in his insufferably helpful manner, sounding no more invested in his massage than if he were observing the state of the weather or some other mundane fact, taking only a moment to let her hooves. You were commenting on something that surprised you, Idle offered in his insufferably helpful manner, sounding no more invested in his massage than if he were observing the state of weather or some other mundane fact, talking. You were commenting on something that surprised you, Idle offered in his insufferably healthy manner. We learned a lot about the sensor today. Oh, that we did. You were commenting on something that surprised you, Idle offered in his insufferably helpful manner, sounding no more invested in his massage than if he were observing the state of the weather or some other mundane fact, taking only a moment to let his hooves trail down to where her wings intersected with her back, pushing down, making the feathers on either wing flare up and grow stiff, as Topaz's neck arched up in response, the Pegasus biting down on her lower lip to muffle some strange sounds Idle could not recognize. Oh, this is a fun part. I love how. Oh, hold on. I need to repay the favor that everyone did for me. Payback. Payback for all that. For last week. For last time I did this. I don't care if it's a GIF. Why so salty? Okay. Oh yes, that was right when I. Shit. Oh, hold on. Ah. I wonder what my neighbors are thinking of right now. Oh yes, that's right. I was. She didn't get to finish that sentence either. Idle's hooves. That joke never gets old. Pushing down now at her haunches, moving in a circular pattern on either side of her, sending a spasm that made her eyes briefly feel like they were rolling like marbles in her skull. His hooves seemed to push past her coat, her skin, straight into the muscles, the nerves, every touch causing her to feel like she was some coil unwinding, growing loose and limp. Muscles almost numb with pleasure, a tingling sensation like pins and needles, but somehow good instead of bad, spreading through her, washing over her as Topaz found that somewhere during all of it she let her tongue roll out of her open mouth, her breathing almost like panting. Wait, I think, maybe, we should, oh, nah, that's a bad thing. Oh, oh, I think maybe, we should. Perhaps it was because her words were hard to hear through all the muffled moaning, and she didn't help herself by gnawing on her own quivering bottom lip so much, but he didn't seem not to hear her. As a result, he didn't stop, his hooves continuing to glide over her, doing things she'd never known a massage could do, kneading her like some lump of dough till she was nice and soft and oozing almost off the couch. It didn't help that she was distinctly began to become aware of another sort of warmth growing between her thighs, one she was sure she should be telling Idle to stop for, but found that her mouth seemed to have stopped working the way she wanted it to. Am I gonna have a sibling? Then, mercifully, Idle stopped. Topaz's chest rattled with a heaving sigh, somewhere between disappointment and relief, her whole body sliding almost, as if it had become some wet. Then, mercifully, Idle stopped. Clear my throat. Then, mercifully, Idle stopped. I need a drink of water. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm out of water at my desk. Oh gosh, it's dark in here. Oh gosh. Water. So good I almost died twice for it. Anyway. Ew. Oh crap. Oh gosh. Yeah, man. So lewd. All of you just so lewd. This is a perfectly good this is a perfectly clean fic. We don't need all this lewdness in here. Oh man. Don't worry, Aster. I'll let you know when you're older. Then, mercifully, Idle stopped. Topaz's chest rattled with a heaving sigh, somewhere between disappointment and relief, her whole body sliding almost, as if it had become some limp noodle of a thing. Then, mercifully, Idle stopped. Topaz's chest rattled with a heaving sigh, somewhere between disappointment and relief, her whole body sliding almost, as if it had become some limp noodle of a thing, threatening to simply melt off the couch into a puddle. Then, mercifully, Idle stopped. Topaz's chest rattled with a heaving sigh, somewhere between disappointment and relief, her whole body sliding almost, as if it had become some limp noodle of a thing, threatening to simply melt off the couch into a puddle. Thank goodness nobody had walked in on them to see what a misunderstanding that could Thank goodness nobody had walked in on them to see what a misunderstanding. Exactly. No lewd zone. This is a no lewd zone. Thank goodness nobody had walked in on. Hold on. Thank goodness no pony had walked in on them to see what a misunderstanding that could have led to. Now she could gather her thoughts at last. Thank goodness nobody had walked in. Thank goodness no pony had walked in on them to see what a misunderstanding that could have led to. Now she could gather her thoughts at last and asked him how he was so bucking good at. Very well. I believe I now have an accurate awareness of your anatomy. Idle's voice. Topaz's voice cut through. Idle's voice cut through Topaz's thoughts like butter. Idle's voice cut through Topaz's thoughts like butter, freezing her up as she heard the next words almost in slow motion. Now I can begin the massage. Huh? Topaz very eloquently asked. She had to blink twice. Had she really just heard what she thought she heard? Huh? Topaz very eloquently asked. She had to blink twice. Had she really just heard what she thought she had? What do you mean? Now you can begin the massage! Topaz couldn't describe the noises that came out of her mouth as Idle worked his magic, hooves digging into her back, finding places she'd never known existed, pressing down till it felt like his hooves were inside of her. Pop, pop, pop. And with every pop, Topaz felt as if her entire world was briefly nothing but the sensation of those hooves on her back, roaming as they pleased, touching as they pleased, and she couldn't muster a single care to give or protest. Is this helping, Topaz? Yes! Oh, hold on, that's a... Yes! She rather succinctly answered. The next day they would have to deal with red-faced and embarrassed glances from their neighbors for all the racket they made, but that was future Topaz's problems. Right now, for present Topaz, there is only one thing that mattered. This is such a fun fic to read. Anyway. Sleep, sleep, sleep. The mantra was lamentably. No, I don't want. Lamentably. 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 The mattress was lamentably not working. The mantra was lamentably not working, even when she tried to force it through grit teeth. Topaz grunted in annoyance before slowly, gently, gingerly, she began to shift from her side, easing into a sleeping position on her back, feeling the mattress begin to touch her end. Ah! She turned over onto her stomach at once, even the brief brush of the mattress on her back sending a shudder of pleasure through her that left the Pegasus mare panting somewhat, a wet spot on her pillow from some errant drool beneath her. This is stupid. Just do some mental exercises, Topaz. It's just a massage. A good one, but still, it's just a massage. It is not going to stop me going to sleep. She squeezed her eyes tightly closed, picturing herself in a commenting. She squeezed her eyes tightly closed. She squeezed her eyes tightly closed, picturing for herself a calming, insect-laden grove, manually controlling her breathing, feeling her slight chest rise and fall with every inhalation and exhalation. It was just a massage. It didn't feel that good. It was just a massage. It didn't feel that good. She felt it working. Felt her thoughts growing She felt it working. Felt her thoughts growing groggy, fogged over, conscious giving way to the She felt it working, felt her thoughts growing groggy, fogged over conscious, giving way to the subconscious. The sun was shining on her, feeling so good on her coat, lulling her as she felt the soothing, wonderful sensation of a pair of hooves begin to trace along her back. Gah! She was upright at once, blanket thrown aside, panting, short mane a mess, wings still flared out to her annoyance, having only somewhat began to droop. Where are you finding all these pony lewd pictures? How? Why? What had made a changeling hoof so magical, wonderful, miraculous, heavenly, divine? All words which sounded too hyperbolic to believe, and yet, the memory of those hooves, of the magic they worked, had her here, unable to lie on her back, unable to sleep. It had felt good, so good. His hooves had only been on her for a few minutes at most, but they've been like the hooves of a musical Vesutro. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Virtuoso. There we go. His hooves had only been on her for a few minutes at most, but they had been like the hooves of a His hooves had only been His hooves had only been on her for a few minutes at most, but they had been like the hooves. His hooves had only been on her a few minutes at most, but they had been like the hooves of a musical virtuoso, expert in every motion, playing her like an instrument, leaving no pain but only euphoric memories that now had her suffering from insomnia. Even hours after he'd finished, her whole body felt tender, raw, as if he'd left her absolutely naked to the world around, the smallest touch on her back sending arches of pleasure that left her nearly hapless. Nearly hapless. Context and Google mainly. Nice. His hooves had only been on her for a few minutes at most, but they had been like the hooves of a musical Vesutro, expert in every motion, playing her like an instrument, leaving no pain, but only euphoric memories that now had her suffering from insomnia. Even hours after he'd finished, her whole body felt tender, raw, as if he'd left her absolutely naked to the world around, the smallest touch on her back sending arches of pleasure that left her near helpless and spasming. Probably. Naked to the world around. Yeah, probably. Absolutely. I wonder if the censor caught that one too. Hey, the censor didn't catch naked. Wait, no, that's not. Why am I drooling? Damn it, Isle, this is all your fault. She grumbled into the darkness around her, a hoof wiping the string of drool that had formed over her bottom lip, before reaching behind to stroke her back, but then retracting when even the slightest contact made a moan escape her lips, thighs grinding together when she finally managed to calm down. Wait, no, that's not. Why am I drooling? Damn it, Io, this is all your fault, she grumbled to the darkness around her, a hoof wiping the string of drool that had formed over her bottom lip, before reaching behind to stroke her back, but then retracting when even the slightest contact made a moan escape her lips, thighs grinding together. When she finally managed to calm down again, with some steady breathing, she had come to a conclusion. There was no alternative. She was simply going to have to ask him for another massage for research purposes. Yes, research purposes. I wonder if that's just a skill of Idol that he just happens to have, or if it's just something changelings have in general. I wonder if it's like a feedback loop of him pouring like positive emotions to try and get her to feel better, and then it just like rebounds and he takes it and pushes it through. And it just keeps on cycling and it just gets to lewdness levels really too quickly. And that's why you need to give me another massage, Topaz finished confidently, already strewn across her couch, looking at Idol with a smug grin of self-satisfied. And that's why you need to give me another massage, Topaz finished confidently, already strewn. And that's why you need to give me another massage, Topaz finished confidently, already strewn across her couch, looking at Idol with the smug grin of the self-satisfied. This was going to work. I do not understand. How does this relate to your field of study at all? Topaz. Topaz, who is the etymologist here? Idol, who's the etymologist here? You are, he conceded. You are, he conceded. There is no arguing it. So who knows what is or isn't relative to my studies? You do. Again, he did not have any rational grounds to object. The logic of it was sound. Then shut up and hooves up. She stretched out on her stomach again, quivering with such excitement that she seemed to... Then shut up and hooves up. She stretched out on her stomach again, quivering with such excitement. Whew, that's a little bit of a tongue twister. Then shut up and hooves up. She stretched out on her stomach again, quivering with such excitement that she seemed to be... Then shut up and hooves up. She stretched out on her stomach again, quivering with such excitement that she seemed like some filly waiting a present. Idol assumed it had to be because she had more important things to do and wanted him to finish fast. Well, if that was what she wanted. Very well, please take a deep breath and... Screen pause. Was that sufficient? Idol stepped back, forelimbs once more tuckaging. Was that sufficient? Idol stepped back, forelimbs. Was that sufficient? Idol stepped back, forelimbs once more touching the ground, staring at Topaz past two wings standing ramrod straight in the air. Feathers flared out to such an extent that it dawned on Idol he had never seen Topaz's wings in such a condition before. So good. Topaz's words were slurred in a manner Idol felt was reminiscent of some of the guards following a particular... That was like more like a zombie. So good. So good. Topaz's words slurred in the manner. Topaz's words slurred in the manner Idol felt was reminiscent of some of the guards following a particularly rowdy night at the bar. Topaz's words slurred in a manner Idol felt was reminiscent of some of the guards following a particularly rowdy night at the bar, although her tongue hanging loosely out of... Oh my gosh, this sentence... Topaz's words slurred in a manner Idol felt was reminiscent of some of the guards following a particularly rowdy night at the bar, although her tongue was hanging loosely out from her lips certainly didn't make her any more easy to understand. The Pegasus mare's face was disconcerting, a smile plastered over it so wide that Idol wondered if she was seeking to distend her jaw. Her eyes were glazed over, unfocused, and every breath seemed to end on a delighted sigh, her whole body undulating in an almost serpentine fashion. Yeah, yeah. That's right. Mm-hmm. It's not long enough. Mm. The damp spot beneath her chin, where the drool still currently leaking from her open mouth had accumulated into a puddle, was also concerning for Idle, as he was rather certain a topaz would not normally lie with her face in a puddle of her own saliva, let alone on the couch. Although the sheer intensity of contentment, satisfaction, and bliss that emanated off of her in waves made it impossible for him to conclude that she was in any discomfort or danger. Indeed, considering how good she seemingly felt, Idle wondered if he perhaps should offer such aid to his other stressed companions. After all, was the harmony ponies were so fond of not based in doing good to others? Yeah, the puddle under her chin. Just her chin. So, shall I. Oh, wait, hold on. So, shall I. May I get going? More. Excuse me? He approached closer, finding it hard to make out Topaz's words right now, the syllables sliding together in her dazed slur. More! Or hold on. More! There we go. That's. More! Okay. More! More! Jesus Christ, Aaron. Okay. Hold on. I should probably save this because that would be really bad if I didn't. Did I mess with my volume control again? Yes, I did. I think it was up here. That sounded about right. Shining Armor and Bold had regrettably. Shining Armor and Bold had regrettably declined Idle's offer of assistance. He understood both were under stress, particularly Shining Armor, but at his suggestion of a massage, they became evasive, eyes darting around as if worried others were listening, finding a series of escalating excuses to turn him down. Why, even when he offered. Shining Armor and Bold had regrettably. Shining Armor and Bold had regrettably declined Idle's his idle offer of assistance. Shining Armor and Bold had regrettably declined Idle's offers of assistance. He understood both were under stress, particularly Shining Armor, but at his suggestion of a massage, they became evasive, eyes darting around as if worried others were listening, finding a series of escalating excuses to turn him down. Why, even when he'd offered to let them hear Topaz's enthusiastic approval of his massage, they had, for some reason, blushed and become even more adamant in their refusal. Topaz had tried to explain that apparently the cause of this was something rooted in this strange conception of ponies had about gender roles and interaction between male and female ponies, or something like that. Oh, I'll fix that in post. Oh my gosh, that's a long sentence. Oh. Fortunately, he found one peer willing to let him help her. Oh no, I'm gonna do Wispy now. I haven't figured out what I was going to do for Wispy yet. No time like the present, am I right? Okay. Wispy. Wispy. Should probably going to be a tough mare. Something like that. Okay. All right. You got some pretty weird interests. You know that, Hooves? Yeah, that sounds more like a child's voice. I don't know if that works so well. You got some pretty weird interests. You know that, Hooves? Uh-huh. You got some pretty weird interests. You know that, Hooves? You know that, Hooves? Yeah. You got some pretty weird interests. You know that, Hooves? I mean, I ain't judging you. You do you, but massage ain't exactly what you think about when you look at a Royal Guard stallion, now is it? But what kind of friend would I be if I didn't help you practice your hobby, eh? I imagine she's kind of like from Brooklyn, even though I cannot do a Brooklyn accent. Wispy couldn't help but chuckle as the two made their way to Idle's chambers, the guard mare internally cracking up at how frank and serious Idle had asked to help her alleviate her stress. Another mare might have thought this was all some cheesy effort at a pickup line, but Wispy knew Idle better, rumors notwithstanding, and knew that the idiot was normally basically 100% literal and serious in everything he said. Besides, if news of this happened to trickle back to a particular stallion of the guard and motivate him to get off his big flank, I'm self-censoring the story. Besides, if news of this happened to trickle back to a particular stallion of the guard and motivate him to get off his big ass, then, well, who was Wispy to complain? Absolutely. All right, then. Let's see what you got. And don't feel bad if it doesn't help that much, okay? I got nerves of steel and skin. All right, then. Let's see what you got. Don't feel bad if it doesn't help much, okay? I got nerves of steel and skin as cuff as a crocodile. Oh, reading. Why are you so hard tonight? All right, then. Let's see what you got. And don't feel bad if it doesn't help much, okay? I got nerves of steel and skin. And skin as tough as a crocodile. So just you do your best, and I'm sure you'll do good. Wispy boldly proclaimed with a half smirk. She didn't do half smiles. Oh no, half smirks, puffing out her chest as she did so. After you. The two stepped in, closing the door behind them. Oblivious to the eyes that watched. Oblivious to the eyes that watched. The ears that watched. The ears that heard. Moth Chaser. Oh, poor Moth Chaser. Oh, man. So good. Oblivious to the eyes that watched. The ears that heard. Moth Chaser. Oh, poor Moth Chaser. Always getting the wrong idea. Always coming to the wrong conclusions. In the poor Bat Pony's defense, what exactly was she meant to think when she saw Idle Hooves entering his chambers, alone, with the lovely, vibrant, and charismatic Wispy at his side? Omni ship. Omni ship is best ship. See what he's got? Skin? Alone with her? In there? Oh, this has to be... Oh, no. I'm probably overreacting. Nothing to worry about. I'm sure I should just go back on duty. Yes. Moth Chaser did not go back on duty, something she would be punished for later. Instead, overcome with curiosity, the Bat Pony crept with signature stealth to the door, her ears twitching pressed against it, but the thickness meant she only caught bits and pieces of the voices coming through. Armor's off, so should I be... Armor's off, so where should I... On your cot? That should be... Say if anything hurts. Could you move your wings? I need to see your... Scandalous! Completely against the sort of professionalism... Scandalous! Completely against the sort of professionalism the Royal Guard should display. Why, Moth Chaser was incensed at such a flagrant violation of regulations. She should report them. That way they would be punished for not including her in their, for breaking the rules. And certainly no other reason at all. She glowered, not even noticing her one hoof digging into the ground so hard it was denting it. She had half a mind to fetch a senior officer when her ears perked and detected a new sound. Okay, so when are you going to start? I can't spend... Oh, I'm slipping back into honey. Okay, so when you going to... Alright, when you going to start? I can't spend all day just waiting for you to... Oh, my sweet Celestia's juicy flanks! And I cut out the person... Okay, so when you going to start? I can't spend all day just waiting for you... That's Southern. Alright. So when are you going to start? I just can't spend all day just waiting for you to... Oh, my sweet Celestia's juicy flank! Oh, my sweet... Oh, my sweet... Hold on. I can do better than that. I can do better than that. Oh, my sweet... Okay, when are you going to start? Got some weird... Okay, so when you going to start? I can't spend all day just waiting for you to... Oh, my sweet Celestia's juicy flanks! Moth Chaser was, in truth, a sweet mare, an innocent mare, a sheltered mare. But even she could recognize what a moan was. Even she, at the most basic, primal, biological fact of her femalehood, knew what the sound of pleasure was, and, by Celestia, she had just heard it. Is it good? Only Idol could ask a question like that, in such a situation, and sound earnest. Moth Chaser was convinced that he could only be so dispassionate about it all because his sheer list of conquests must have made him, by now, apathetic and immune to even the most brazen displays of nudity and salaciousness. I'm pretty sure that I said that right. Yeah, I'm going to not even look that up because I'm not even... It's fucking amazing, that's what it is. That's fucking amazing, that's what it is. Ooh, where did I? It doesn't matter. Oh, Bucky, yes, there. Matter. Ooh, don't stop. How lewd could one be, in profaning Celestia's own name? Why, at this very moment, Moth Chaser was filled with a furious, feral, righteous need to How lewd could one be, in profaning Celestia's own name? Why, at this very moment, Moth Chaser was filled with a furious, feral, righteous need to wreak vengeance upon Wispy, which was not at all motivated by a surge of... Motivated. How lewd could one be, in profaning Celestia's own name? Why, at this very moment, Moth Chaser... Celestia was filled with a... Oh, man, this is great. I love it. How lewd could one be, in profaning Celestia's own name? Why, at this very moment, Moth Chaser was filled with a furious, feral, righteous need to wreak vengeance upon Wispy, which was not at all motivated by a surge of jealousy. No siree, nothing but the righteous need to do her duty as a guard and stop such unprofessional behavior. Lower, oh, yeah, lower, yes, oh, that's, I need, so bad, touch all over there, This was getting out of hoof rapidly, and not at all just because Moth Chaser's thighs were beginning to slide together. She needed to put a stop to this, to end it. She needed to... This story, it's so fun. It's so fun to read. Oh man, I'm probably going to need to rate this mature on YouTube though. Hold on, can I rate this as a... before I get kicked off of YouTube? Oh man, this is so good. Let's see, can I... Oh, so good. Oh man, this is fun. This is so much fun. Hey, Tyscope, how's it going? Oh man, you're. I'm reading one of the side fics. You have walked into lewdness. Hold on. Quaylag. Doing your story right now on stream. Command C. Boop. Quayleg, please hurry up. It's the lewdness is too damn high. Halt in the name of decency! In retrospect, that was not the best, nor most halt in the name of decency. In retrospect, it was not the best or most intimidating opening line. In retrospect, that was not the most... In retrospect, it was not the best nor most intimidating... No! In retrospect, it was not the best nor most intimidating opening line, but as Moth Chaser threw open the door and stepped in, she was preoccupied with more important things. The sight before her burned itself into her retina. Idle hooves The sight before her burned itself into her retina. Idle hooves straddled Wispy, who lay flat on her stomach on his cot, stretched out, writhing and undulating like some sensual, tempting serpent, moaning and mewling. Her wings flared out to the sides in this physiological gesture Moth Chaser knew all too well. Idle's neck craned back to look at Moth Chaser and, even now, seemed completely innocent, as if he had not an inkling of shame for what she'd heard, what she'd seen, greeting her as if this was something completely ordinary. "Hello, Moth Chaser. I must guess that if you are going to enter my chambers, you please do knock first. It is only polite to—" He droned on, though Moth Chaser had ceased hearing what he said long ago. This is a lewd stream. Please exit the lewd stream if you do not wish to have lewd. If you do not wish to lewd. Oh, man. Oh, good. Oh, goodness gracious. I might need to borrow one of those lewd things. Just slap that on somewhere. By contrast to Idle's calm, Wispy had seemingly not even noticed her arrival. In fact, the only thing that the Pegasus seemed concerned with was the fact that Idle Hooves had stopped whatever it was they had been doing. Don't stop, please. Don't come on. I need more. Please, I'm begging you. Don't drive me crazy. NC-17, exactly. What den of sin is this? Moth Chaser could only gape. Moth Chaser could only gape. Yeah. Mind trying to comprehend what's strange and, frankly, difficult to understand lewdness must surely be happening before her. Wispy, the Pegasus who was always so sure of herself, so in control, seemed to writhe beneath Idle's sensual hooves, helplessly, her body responding to his slightest touch, jerking and shuddering, like she was some puppet on strings. I need to restart this entire take because it is not that good. I cannot even. Can only gap. Guap. Moth Chaser could only gape, mind trying to comprehend what's strange and, frankly, difficult to understand lewdness must surely be happening before her. Wispy, the Pegasus who was always so sure of herself, so in control, seemed to writhe beneath Idle's sensual hooves, helplessly, her body responding to his slightest touch, jerking and shuddering, like she was some puppet on strings. I am assisting Wispy to relieve stress. Do you need to relieve stress as well? Had he just asked her to join them in his strangely studly code language? Had he brazenly invited her, even as he straddled another mare, to experience the same height of bliss? What rudeness! So uncouth! The arrogance! The audacity! Did he think he could just seduce her with some blatant question? Yes. Yes. The lack of content. Oh, it's... Yeah. This channel in context is so fantastic. Two mares stumbled out of Idle's room, the door closing behind them. A Pegasus. Two mares stumbled out of Idle's room, the door closing behind them. Their armor was only haphazardly draped over their bodies, saddles leaning to one side, Wispy's helmet clinging to one side of her face, while Moth Chaser's was so far forward it almost obscured her vision. They didn't really walk, so much as stumble out, woozily, swaying from one side to the other, as if they were dizzy, struggling to walk straight. Walking in a straight line seems like such a chore now. The world had been turned upside down and inside out. The red flush tinting both of their coats only added to the impression that they'd gotten themselves sodding drunk. Certainly it didn't help that every time their armor somewhat even brushed along. Okay. Certainly it didn't help that every time their armors even somewhat grazed along their backs, they froze and went rigid, stock still, biting down on their lips to keep from moaning, releasing panting breaths in the aftermath, chests heaving from the strain. Moth Chaser was still trying to comprehend it, to compute it. What had happened? One moment she had been lying down, confused, starting to realize that things were not what she assumed, and then the next, pleasure. Indescribable, white-hot pleasure of a sort she'd never known. How had he even done it? She wasn't sure. He placed his hooves down on her haunches, trailing her spine, and then everything went white. Her entire world had become, for a few minutes, nothing but ecstasy. Even now, neither she or Wispy had the wherewithal to even brush the chains of drool that hung from their quivering lips. We, got to keep this between ourselves, right? We can't let any other pony know, right? Can't let them still, not let them tempt idle. Yes, we can't, can't let anyone know. We have two, for his own good. The two mares had an almost telepathic link, as if they had both come to the same conclusion at the same time, nodding as they headed towards a desperately needed shower. You know what? I'm wondering something. If their armor just barely brushing the back of their backs, causing sensations, like causing them to causing such sensations, what would a shower do? Their backs are so sensitive, it would probably just lay them right out. Like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like, Topaz could barely even lay on her back. Imagine just like, and like nothing can barely even touch their backs without causing such a reaction. But a shower, oh my gosh, that would just be, they would just go in the shower and just like never come out. The morning was filled with birdsong. The morning was filled with soft birdsong. The royal gardens of Celestia's palace playing host to a beautiful scene. The reigning alicorn of all Equestria sat perched about on a white-laden table. The morning was filled with soft birdsong. The royal gardens of Celestia's palace playing host to a beauticious scene. The reigning alicorn of all Equestria sat perched about on a white-laden table. On a white table. The morning was filled with soft birdsong. The royal gardens of Celestia's palace playing host to a beauteous. Beauteous. I did get it right the first time. The morning was filled with soft birdsong. The royal gardens of Celestia's palace playing host to a beauteous scene. The reigning alicorn of all Equestria sat perched about on a table laden with goods and sweets and tea. The morning was filled with soft birdsong. The royal gardens of Celestia's palace playing host to a beauteous scene. The reigning alicorn of all Equestria sat The morning was filled with soft birdsong. The royal gardens of Celestia's palace playing host to a beauteous scene. The reigning alicorn of all Equestria sat perched about a white table laden with goods, sweets, and tea. Her young niece by adoption, the beautiful Princess Cadence, sitting opposite her, tricolored mane, lustrous and shimmering, streaming down her svelte. Streaming down her svelte back, cresting over a rounded, thick pair of flanks. Cadence broke the tranquil silence first. You know, I've actually been hearing this strange rumor, Auntie, Cadence said over a cup of tea, watching her aunt scrutinizing her, looking for any tell or signal, her shimmering eyes so beautiful and yet, at the same time, possessing a quality for perception which exceeded almost any other's. That's nice, dear. The older alicorn seemed rather uninterested, though, eyes parsing over some or other newspaper, even as she fed herself cake. Indeed, it's about that Corporal Idlehoofs, remember? The rather odd one? No reaction was evident, so Cadence pushed on. Apparently, I've heard he's been secretly running some sort of lewd parlor from his room. Not that I believe such a thing, of course. Her mane was tossed behind her in a calculated move of indifference, shining and sparkling as it did, the sort of gesture which would normally have crowds of stallions and mares gawking in awe. I'm sure it's just the usual nonsense, rumor mongering, you know. I'd pay no attention to it. Cadence's eyes narrowed, noticing the tiniest slip up, the brief dip of a cake-laden fork which hovered in her aunt's grip. Yes, nothing. She sipped her tea ominously. Really, Auntie? Cadence tried to keep the smugness from her voice again, voicing grin. Really, Auntie? Cadence tried to keep the smugness from her voice and grin, albeit she didn't try very hard. The beautiful pink alicorn princess leaned against the wall of the chamber, eyes watching the generous figure of her aunt splayed out, idle standing on one side, hooves at the ready to tend to all that alabaster flesh. It's not what it looks like. It's just a massage. Celestia's head rose up alarmingly fast, her voice tainted by only a hint of desperation and shame, the red blush vibrant on her white coat. That is correct. What would it be other than a massage? Cadence ignored Idol's charming obliviousness with a giggle, striding next to him and patting his head with one hoof, as if congratulating a pet. Her eyes slid back to Celestia, a predatory gaze on them like a cat playing with its food. If you wanted a massage, we could have organized for some masseuses, you know. There's no need for all this cloak and dagger nonsense. I did too wonder why there must... I too did wonder that. Surely there must be ponies far more worthy than I to tend to you. Idle, not now, please. The princesses are speaking. Cadence silenced his usual rambling with a hoof to the mouth, as Celestia gave an adorable filly-like whine, as if she'd been caught doing something naughty by her parents. I didn't intend to go for it like this. I asked Idle once and oh, Cadence, you don't understand. It feels so good. I couldn't stop. The way her voice wavered at the word, biting down on her bottom lip, suppressing a shudder, Cadence couldn't help but tilt her head in confusion. To do something like that to her aunt. How good could it be? Oh, come on, Auntie. This is too rich. A massage? Really? Cadence had to suppress another snort, although watching her normally prim and proper Aunt blush was rather cute. You honestly expect me to believe that you've been acting this silly over a massage? Celestia groaned, covering her face with her hooves. It feels so good. So good. I couldn't help it. Oh my gosh, seriously, Annie? I never realized you were such a lightweight. Now, Cadence couldn't hold it back anymore, bursting out into gales of laughter. Now Cadence couldn't hold it back anymore, bursting out into gales of laughter, Idle still with her hoof on his mouth, looking between the two alicorns, and just assuming his confusion was due to them discussing matters far too important for a being such as for a being so lowly as him to understand. Lightweight? An eyebrow twitched threateningly on the elder alicorn's face. You would not even last a second if he had massaged you, dear niece. The laughter died at once. The pink alicorn lowered her head till it was inches from the others, eyes locked. Is that a challenge I hear? Celestia grinned. Trap sprung. Oh, no challenge. Just a fact. Someone as delicate and as sensitive as you couldn't possibly take it, Celestia said, voice laked with fox concern, over something she had many moon... Celestia grinned. Trap sprung. Oh, no, no challenge. Just a fact. Someone as delicate and as sensitive as you couldn't possibly take it, Celestia said, voice laced with faux concern. Celestia said, voice laced with faux concern, something she had many moons of practice with. Idle, lewd, my niece. Cadence gave a derisive snort, her nostrils flaring. Challenge accepted, and I want you to watch, Auntie. I want you to see exactly how much of a lightweight you are compared to me. Agreed. Idle wants massages both. Whoever can endure it without showing any sign of enjoyment wins. Agreed? The competitiveness of both alicorns had been soaked now, royal egos on the line. Celestia and Cadence locked horns, not even looking at Idle as they laid down the terms of their duel. Agreed. And then I'll just paste this down because it's something I do for respite as well. Idle was not asked if he agreed. Oh, Cadence had whispered in surprise, but that whisper soon gave way to a much throatier, huskier noise. Oh, yes! Not a bit of acting, not in the slightest. The second his hooves had touched her back, it was like nothing in the world. Determining who had lost first between Celestia and her was next to impossible at this point. What with how their moans had blurred together into one sound, it hadn't been easy either. It hadn't been easy either. Idle was forced to clamber up on top of the two alicorns, standing with two hooves braced on one, two hooves braced on the other, mounted on their backs in a rather ungainly fashion as his hooves had begun to dug into their backs. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the two princesses on whom's shoulders Equestria's fate rested held more tension in them combined than all of Canterlot's, and thus when Idle began to knead that tension out of them, well... There is an enormous amount of tension contained within you both, he stated plainly, as he was wont to do. If it would please you, might I release it? No objections from me. Celestia wiggled and writhed under his touch, her ponderous, round, jiggling flanks rippling as his back hoof ground into them like they were white clay. Ooh, do whatever you want, just don't stop, Cadence added, her tongue lolling out of her open mouth as she felt her eyes go squint, rolling to meet each other at the center of her head. So good. This was a massage so deep it touched the bottom of the ocean and kept right on going. It felt like every muscle in their back was being loosened up, draining away liquid tension that had built up for years and years and years. It was like they were clay and his hooves were those of a potter, taking all that tension and stress away, molding it and shaping it into something new, something better. Oh, in my own name, this feels good. Oh, in my own name, it feels so good. Celestia released a breath as if she had been holding it in for centuries, letting her face drop down onto the pillow with a dopey, idiotic, vapid grin, not an ounce of intelligence showing as her eyes began rolling upwards towards the roof. Your name? In my name, thank you very much. Cadence countered, with even a soft pop made her go rigid, face freezing up briefly in a rictus expression of bliss, a sparkling chain of drool oozing down from her chin with a gah, before she seemingly limply dropped with a coo. Cadence didn't even notice the way her haunches reared up as Idle's hoof sank in deep, tail flaring up, pushing herself against him, as if wanting him to go even harder, leaning herself into it. Sorry, burp. Okay. Cadence didn't even notice the way her haunches reared up as Idle's hooves sank into the deep. Cadence didn't even notice the way her haunches reared up as Idle's hooves sank in deep, tail flaring up, pushing herself against him as if wanting him to go even harder, leaning herself into it, aching for it. It felt to the princesses as if her entire person had become nothing but the sensations coursing through her from Idle's hooves, every nerve ending in her body firing non-stop, waves of bliss that seemed to be washing over any conscious thoughts. For that moment, the princesses didn't have to worry about their kingdom, their ponies, their burdens. They were briefly lost in being nothing but the joy of Idle's hooves. helplessly moaning, their senses at his mercy, their only liberty to observe and feel the debilitating euphoria of it all. Cadence's mouth hung open, a puddle of drool forming beneath her, as Celestia's beside her buried her face deep into the pillow. It was almost unbelievable how good it felt, and yet... Alright then, now I think I can begin the proper massage. Alright then, now I think I can begin the proper massage. Alicorn anatomy takes a little time to get used to. I see you can endure considerably more pressure than a regular pony, but I believe I should be able to start the massage. I hope it is to your likings, your majesties. Did that help? He asked when it was all said and done, filled with a satisfaction. Did that help? He asked when it was all said and done, filled with that satisfaction, that contentment that came from knowing he had done his duty and he had done it well. Idle turned to look at the sight before him. Twin alicorns lay spread eagle on the cot. Tongues hung from their open mouths, expression of absolute joy. Manes were mussed and draped over, panting breaths and moans escaping them, and absolute contentment and relaxation emanating from them. A job well done if he had ever seen one. Came Celestia's highly coherent reply. Celestia slurred in agreement. True, they were making straight, high-pitched sounds. Straight, high-pitched sounds and seemingly muddled. They were making strange, high-pitched sounds and seemingly. True, they were making strange, high-pitched sounds and seemingly muttered in gibberish, but Idle dutifully simply assumed that this was because they were busy with some or other conversation far too advanced for a lowly drone such as him to comprehend. Still, Idle's eyes was drawn to their wings again. It was something he'd noticed with Topaz and with Wispy, something about Pegasus' wings. They stood up, rigid, flared out, and bristling, every slight breeze seeming. Still, Idle's eyes were drawn to their wings again. It was something he'd noticed with Topaz and with Wispy, something about Pegasus' wings. They stood up, rigid, flaring out, feathers bristling, every slight breeze seemingly making the connecting point of the wings and body twitch and elicit a fresh sound from the mares. He couldn't help but be curious. After all, if he was to do his duty, he needed to fully comprehend what it was about the massage that seemed to make Pegasus' wings behave so strangely. Please continue your conversation. Don't mind me. I just wish to examine your wings briefly, to understand. Please continue your conversation. Do not mind me. I just wish to examine your wings briefly to understand. He was still talking when his hooves brushed their wings, merely brushed them, and learned firsthand just how sensitive Pegasus' wings could be. Oh! There we go. And the lewdness is complete. I will edit this up, and it should be on. I should be releasing it probably tomorrow. Oh man, that was so. I was meaning to get to this fic eventually. Maybe I'll get to the other side fics as well. I'm actually going to release. I'm actually going to put this in its own playlist with other side stories, with other like one-shot side stories, called Idle Curiosity, because it just seems so fitting. Oh man, it's already 9:50. Oh gosh. That was really fun. Let's see. Let's hope and see if I can do this again next week. But yeah, this chapter, this story will take the place of Changeling of the Guard. I'll hopefully edit up a couple more, and I should be getting back on schedule soon. Woo! Yeah, kind of like his blog. I know you're on the East Coast. Mountain time for the win. Woo! But but yeah, I'm like, okay, everyone's like going like with idle daydreams and stuff like that, and I'm like, idle curiosity sounds like like a good name for just like one shots. Your Tumblr blog. Anyway, uh, let's see. Oh gosh. Oh, that was so much fun. Got to do this again. Got going to try my hardest to do this again next week. But yeah, this just to hopefully give you a schedule, somewhat of a schedule. This is going to come out on Wednesday, and hopefully I can finish off Respite so I can get that uploaded on Sunday, and hopefully we'll get back into uh, the rhythm that we were in. Sweet, sound good? Sounds good. But it's late. It's an hour after I usually stop streaming, so I bid you all adieu. Peace.